Hello, this is Mason Sports Insider. I'm Tyler Byram, and this is Dan Ward. This week, the women's soccer team surprised rivals at the Atlantic 10 tournament as the men's team battled to keep their season alive.
Also, we have a preview of the men's basketball season opener against Colgate, so be sure to stick around. You don't want to miss anything.
Yet the long-awaited season opener. It seems like this has been an extra long break for college basketball fans.
Seriously, it's been a long time since their last game. Looking forward to the action getting started. New coach, new players.
You know how long it's been? They don't play at the Patriot Center anymore.
Yeah, that's true. First game, Eagle Bank Arena. So a lot of fun and festivities coming up. We'll see how they do.
Yep, we'll see how they do.
Well, let's get you started first with the women's soccer team, who opened up A10 tournament play on Thursday with the early game against the George Washington Colonials. Mason, who barely snuck into the playoffs, had their work cut out for them going against the undefeated Colonials team that was riding a 13-match winning streak. GW is known for their defense, and that was the name of the game for both teams in this one. The two teams were scoreless after 45 minutes, with each team registering only one shot on goal in the first half. The Colonials attacked first in the second half, putting the pressure on the Patriots, but the always solid Kirsten Glad was there to come up with two big saves midway through the second. Then, in the 76th minute, Mason was awarded a free kick that sophomore Kyla Williams set into the box where it was headed by freshman Emily Littell right to Abby Downey, who finished the job with the goal to put the Patriots up 1-0. And that would be all the Patriots would need, as they were able to slam the door on the Colonials and win the first game of the tournament. The shutout was their 6th of the season and the program's first playoff victory since joining the A10.
They were right back at it on Friday for a semifinal matchup against the Fordham Rams, a team that they had tied at 1 to end the regular season. In the opening minute, the Rams would get off the first shot of the game from Brianna Blanc, who scored the team's earlier goal in the year. But this time, Glad was able to corral the ball. Remaining in the half, neither team got off much of an attack until the 38th minute when Kyla Williams set up a corner kick. She would send the ball off when Sarah Hardison found the ball and headed it in for her 10th goal of the season and gave the Patriots a 1-0 lead. In the second half, Fordham would turn it up a notch, reeling off shot after shot until they connected in the 59th minute when Jessica Widman finding the back of the net. The teams would then head to overtime, but after scoreless 20 minutes, the team would set up for penalty kicks. The green and gold would start shooting first, and Hardison would easily put the team up early. However, Fordham would score on every single shot they took and would win in PKs 4-2. The loss unfortunately ends the Patriots season at 9-2 overall, giving the team a 500 record in Todd Bramble's first season as head coach. After the game, Bramble said, "We are a young team and our future is very bright. I also want to thank our fans for their support all year long, and I want to thank everyone who came to the tournament. We had a great fan base in Davidson, and it meant a great deal to have the team to have support." So, bittersweet ending to the year for the women's soccer team. I mean, heck, when you can go 500 with a first-year head coach, that's something to be proud about. That's a good turnaround for the team.
Certainly, they definitely improved this season compared to last. Head coach Todd Bramble clearly made a big impact. He had success in Alabama previously, and now he brought the success here to Mason. First playoff win for the team in the A10. That's something big, that's huge. And they're setting themselves up great for next season. They've shown the A10 that they're here now. They are a team that's going to compete, and they should now be at least back-to-back contenders for the A10, because next year they're bringing back a lot of the same players, only losing 2 starting seniors.
Yeah, there's a lot to build off of. I mean, because they didn't just win their first game. They beat the top seed as the 8th seed. They beat a team that had won 13 games in a row, so it's a very impressive win for not only the team but the program as they continue to go forward and push forward. Women's soccer team, they have potential to do really well next year, maybe be one of the Atlantic 10 front runners. I'm sure that, I mean, this is a long way down the road. This is probably 300 days away. But the coaches poll at the beginning of the year, I think they're going to reflect how the team did at the end of the year, and that will show. Moving on, the men's soccer team would wrap up a long and rough season on Saturday night by hosting the Rhode Island Rams on senior night. Coming into the game, Mason would need to have a result that was better than VCU, who was taking on Dayton to make the Atlantic 10 tournament. Before the match started, we would honor the 6 seniors on the George Mason roster. Heading into 2016, the team will be without Taylor Washington, Bryce Colcom, Yannick Eckenrode, Ahmed Ismail, Edgar Zepeda, and Michael Butts. Getting into the action, the Rams would threaten early as Mason tried to get a feel for the match. Eventually, Rhode Island would get on the scoreboard before halftime as Nick Ferguson would head across from Ryan Oakley Mason would get opportunities late in the half, but the team appeared to always be just a step off. Breaking out of the half, Henning Dirks, who the Patriots continually tried to get in open space in the first half, attempted to do it all by himself. With defenders all around him, Dirks worked into the box and took a shot from just a couple yards away from the keeper and find the far post to tie the game up at 1. Then, minutes later, Dirks attempts to do it again, dribbles the ball down the field, and single-handedly, once again he gets in the box and looks to Hoffman, but cleans it up off the block. Just like that, Mason is up 2-1. Then in the final minute, Rhode Island is battling to get the ball in the net, and the final whistle finally blows as Stephen Kraus falls on top of the ball. The game would ultimately end in a scuffle, resulting in a red card to Cullen Hunter, but the team would still get the 2-1 victory. However, with VCU scoring 3 unanswered goals against the Dayton Flyers, the VCU Rams would clinch the final spot in the Atlantic 10 tournament. The Patriots would finish the year on a 3-game winning streak with a 7-7-3 record, 3-2-3 in the Atlantic 10, one spot out of the tournament, which will be hosted here at Mason Stadium this week.
Unfortunate for the men's soccer team. We thought that they had it. We thought that they had the playoff spot. And especially when we were looking at the game, VCU was losing to Dayton. You expected Dayton to come away with that win. One of the top teams in the A10 all year, usually perennial contenders. And somehow VCU was able to pull it out late. If you look at the box score, 3 goals in about 10 minutes late in the second half and into overtime. Heartbreaking loss for this team, and it kind of just culminates the entire season of just some bad luck and misfortune for this team.
Yeah, Dayton was up 2-0 very late in the game, and then an own goal by the Flyers actually led to that VCU comeback and prompted it. Congratulations to VCU. I mean, it's unfortunate for Mason. Team kind of a little bit, they dug themselves in this hole to start the season. They had a strong start at the end, and unfortunately it wasn't enough. Encouraging to see the team though battle back like this. Mason, at the beginning of the year, they weren't playing what a lot of people on the team like to call Mason soccer. They weren't aggressive, they weren't attacking, they weren't playing for the team, if you will. They were just kind of going through the motions. And then at the end of the season, we saw that turn around a lot. And I mean, heck, they might not have been in this game. They shouldn't have been in this game coming into it and having the chance to go to the tournament.
Yeah, it's tough to, like as you mentioned, dig yourself a hole, and they tried their best to get out of a 3-game winning streak to end the season. Can't really ask for more than that.
Win on senior night.
Exactly, and a win on senior night. They did what they had to do to set themselves up for the potential playoffs, but unfortunately, the cards just didn't fall their way this season. First season that they're not going to the A10 tournament since joining the A10, and it's unfortunate, but there were some positives. We are going to miss some of the seniors. I know personally Taylor Washington has been one of the key cogs in that back line and that defense, so he'll certainly be missed along with his fellow teammate Bryce Colcomb. Yeah. So 2 tough players to lose, especially on the defensive side of things, but a lot of good players coming back, so we just have to take a little break, then prepare and get back at it next season.
Yeah, fortunately Greg Andrulis always, somehow each season he's able to manage it so that when senior night comes, you're like, oh wow, we aren't saying goodbye to the entire roster. This year they just had to focus on losing a couple defensive guys in Washington and Colcomb, and also Eckenrode, who plays in the midline, but he normally plays back defensively more often than not. So still, season optimistic towards 2016, but again, long way to go. Congratulations to the season. They battled back and they were able to get to 500.
We take you now to the women's volleyball team, who were in St. Louis last week taking on the Billikens. Mesa started off slow in this one, allowing the Billikens to jump ahead to a 14-5 lead. After a timeout though, Mason tightened the gap thanks to a kill by Tiffany Clark and a block by Meredith Bush. St. Louis quickly recovered, however, and stretched their lead to 20-10, eventually winning the first set 25-17. Mason played much better in the second, and after initially trailing the Billikens, the Patriots grabbed the momentum to take a 15-12 lead. The next point won came off the longest rally of the match, which set the tone for the remainder of the set. The confident Patriots cruised from that point on to a 25-18 second set win to tie the match. The third set was more of the same, with the Billikens taking the early lead, only to see it wiped away by the Patriots. With the score tied at 14-all, St. Louis proved why they are one of the best teams in the conference by taking an 8-2 run on their way to a 25-19 third set win. The momentum carried into the fourth, where the Patriots never got close and they fell to the St. Louis Billikens 3-1. Morgan Martin, as usual, led the way again for the Patriots with 14 kills, and Tiffany Clark picking up 12, and Sydney Finoga picked up 11. Head coach Jackie Simpson said they need to work on sustaining a high level of play for long periods of time, but they are continuing to get better.
Continuing their rough road trip, the team traveled to Dayton, who are looking to remain undefeated in conference play. The Flyers jumped out to a 7-1 advantage, being led by contender for the Atlantic 10 Player of the Year, Elena Turner, who would wrap up 15 kills when it was all said and done. Dayton would continue to build their lead until they took the set 25-11. In the second, Mason got their first leads of the match at 2-1 and 3-2, but with an 11-5 run by Dayton later in the set belonged in the hands of the Flyers, 25-17. In what would be the third and final set of the game, Mason made their most competitive. Caitlin Hipsher, with 27 assists in the game, gave the team their first 2-point lead at 4-2, with the Green and Gold's only service ace of the matchup. Falling from there, the Flyers would eventually claim the lead back at 9-8 and slowly but surely climb back it out to a 25-19, concluding the three-set sweep. Morgan Martin led the team offensively with a 25% attack percentage and 9 kills. In the back, Jelena Kobanovic had an incredible 21 digs in the team's only 3 sets. With Mason's rough 0-2 weekend, the team is officially eliminated from qualifying for the Atlantic 10 postseason tournament with VCU's 2-0 week. The team's record is now 9-18 overall, 3-9 in conference. As we look at our Atlantic 10 standings presented to you by GiantKiller.co, the team is now sitting in 8th place.
So an unfortunate circumstances for the women's volleyball team, unable to pick up the win against the 2 top opponents. We had mentioned last week that they needed to get at least one of those wins to have a chance at the playoffs, and with VCU coming away with 2 wins, eliminating them statistically, but a lot of good things from this women's volleyball team, certainly improved from last season.
Yeah, I mean, of course everyone's going to be disappointed because they don't make the postseason. But again, this is one of those transition years. There's a lot of transition years for George Mason with new head coaches coming in. Women's soccer, very fortunate. I mean, cannot stress enough how impressive the women's soccer team, what they did to get to the A10 tournament, even making it to the semifinals. But the women's team, I mean, they were better than last year, which is huge. It's a huge thing for the team. The fact that they were in it up until the second to last weekend and that they could have gotten that 6th place spot, that's good news for the team. Unfortunately, they're going to be losing quite a bit of seniors this year, but I mean, Jackie Simpson, the way she's recruiting some great freshmen. I'm sure they're going to improve as season goes on, and there's still 2 games left, so we will have a proper way to send off this team before it's over.
Basketball is officially back beginning this Friday, where the Mason men's basketball team plays host to the Colgate University Raiders in the first game of the 2015-2016 college basketball season. The team begins this season, as every team does, with a clean slate as they look to bounce back from a tough season last year in which they went 13-21 overall and 4-14 in conference play. New head coach Dave Paulson knows a lot about the Colgate Raiders from his time with Bucknell University. Paulson brings with him a motion offense and a tough coaching style, and he has promised that the team will be competitive and ready to play every game, which is something the team in recent years have failed to do from time to time. The Patriots returned 4 key players from last year's team: juniors Marquise Moore and Jalen Jenkins, and seniors Patrick Holloway and Siobhan Thompson. Thompson was selected to the All-A10 Conference 3rd team last season after leading the conference in rebounding. The 6'11" center from Jamaica will look to improve from last season and lead his team on both ends of the court. Replacing last year's graduates and players lost to transfers are 6 freshmen who will look to make an immediate impact on the team. They will, however, be without the services of freshman Danny Rovaio, the Portuguese product, who will redshirt his freshman season due to injury. The matchup against Colgate will be Friday, November 13th, right here in Fairfax at the newly named Eagle Bank Arena. Basketball is back, Tyler.
Yes, it is back. A little disappointed though to hear about Danny Rovallo. I was excited to see his play. I mean, something that is Paulson's style. It's what he wants. He's that perfect player for Paulson's system. However, with the injury, unfortunately, he's redshirting, but that's good for years to come. We'll have to wait a year for Rovallo. However, I'm extremely excited for the freshmen. The freshmen are going to prove themselves this game. I have a feeling that it's going to be the new guys that are going to be leading this team in the first game. Otis Livingston Jr., I'm thrilled about him. We're going to be excited to have him as point guard for the team going forward. Also, someone else to look out for, Marco Guanicic. I know, Mason Nation, you guys have mixed feelings about Marco. But I just have a feeling that with this different style, he's doing what he's more comfortable doing. He's looked really great in practice over the past couple weeks. We could see Marco turn around his season or career and finish out strong here senior year.
Yeah, in fact, talking to Dave Paulson, he had said that players like Jalen Jenkins, Siobhan Thompson, and Marco are all playing very well in the preseason and in practice. Of course, that doesn't necessarily translate to games. There are a lot of players that are very good at practice that then don't perform in the games, but
talking about practice,
those are the signs that you like to see, although he was good at games as well. Yeah. So the fact that Dave Paulson is talking highly about the centers and our power forwards, that's the type of offense that he does want to do. Aside from the motion offense, he does want to use the height that we have, because we have a lot of big guys on this team, and we can really power it down low. And the fact that the three core big men are doing well, that shows a lot of good signs for the future in this upcoming season.
Yeah, using height will be an advantage. However, for the team, one thing always been kind of a problem for Mason in the past couple of years has been their perimeter defense. I have a feeling it's going to be better this year, but Mason Nation, don't expect it to be drastically different. I mean, it's just the height, the makeup of the team. It takes a couple years to get back in a different style. But interior, you're going to see it. And we have a new shot clock. We haven't even mentioned that 30-second shot clock. So that, I believe that's actually going to help the Mason defense, because I know sitting in the stands, the first 27 seconds, great defense.
Lock them down.
And then all of a sudden, they get off that killer three-pointer. So expect maybe some changes on that end with the time change helping. But I'm excited. What are we, 4 days now? It's going to be even closer by the time most of you guys see it. So
this Friday, come on out. We want the support, and it's going to be a great game. Let's get the season started off right.
This weekend, the cross-country team will head to Earlysville, Virginia for the NCAA Southeast Regional, which will be hosted by last year's men's regional champion, Virginia. George Mason's men's team is looking to build on last year's 13th overall place finish, where Stephen Flynn placed 72nd and Stuart Landon Crowell finished 126th. For the women's team, they placed 21st last season, with only Richmond and Davidson also representing the A10. Jennifer Nakamura was Mason's second highest finisher, placing 107th overall, with Bailey Kolonich third, 114th overall. Both teams will have potential to place higher than the 2014 results.
So A10 championship over for the cross-country team, but the playoffs are still going. We'll see. Hopefully they can, as you said, do better than 2014, because that's really the goal. We want to build every year, and since a lot of the returning runners from last year, they know where they are at, and they know where they need to get ahead of and what their times need to be. So good luck to the cross-country teams. Yep,
Stephen Flynn has the potential to carry this team again. He did hit his times from last year. I was just comparing them. They are drastically improved. Congrats to Stephen on what he's been able to do this season, and even in the off-season. Off-season's honestly, it's the biggest season of them all. But he's done great, and it's a huge opportunity for Mason. I believe they can get a couple places higher, maybe borderline top 10. Women's team, I believe they're roughly about where they were last year, maybe try and gain a spot or two. But good looks for the program moving forward.
Well, that will wrap up this week's edition of Mason Sports Insider. Here's a look at this week's upcoming schedule.
Well, as we mentioned, you can't look at the schedule and not see that's men's basketball game against Colgate at 7 o'clock. It's going to be quite a busy weekend here on the campus of George Mason.
The reason being is that we have the A10 championship tournament for men's soccer, and unfortunately we will not be competing, but we will be playing host, so make sure we are showing how great of a campus George Mason is.
Yep, also the swimming team will be hosting LaSalle, and the women's volleyball team will also be hosting the Explorers, both those games being at 5 and 7 o'clock respectively. Also on Friday. Friday is a busy day.
Yeah, and to finish that off, women's basketball also getting their season started. They will be away to open up the season at Radford University, that taking place on Friday. And then they will have another game on Sunday against Virginia Tech.
Yep, so overall, busy schedule. We're wrapping up our fall season. This is probably one of the most exciting times of the year, in my opinion. One season's coming to an end. You get the excitement of playoffs, end of season, championships are being crowned, and you also have the encouraging beginning of winter season. So all the outlook, we get to see how the teams are doing, the men's basketball and women's basketball teams building on last year's overall finishes. So it's very exciting to see. My favorite time, personally.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, especially I'm really excited for the basketball seasons, men's and women's. It gives us a chance to see the men right away. Women, we have to wait till next week. They'll be having their home opener next week, so be sure to come out for that, and we'll make sure you know when and where that takes place next week. But yeah, you're right. A10 championship season wrapping up. Playoff time. It's exciting even though the Patriots aren't in it for the soccer team, men's soccer team that is, even though they're not in the playoffs. Still an exciting time to see how the A10 tournament wraps up in preparation for next year. So here we go.
Yeah,
basketball season, new seasons. Exciting time.
Yep, also, if you're on the women's basketball team, don't worry. We'll have your preview next week. We just don't want to make this too much of an episode for you guys, but we got you guys next week. But that will do it. That's all we got for you this week. Make sure to check out our graphic sponsor and medium provider, Giant Killer, at their website, giantkiller.co. Here are our Twitter handles, and until next time, I am Tyler Byram, and this is Dan Ward. And we'll see you guys next time.